Alberto's arrival. The season's first named storm brings heavy rain and wind to Mexico and southern Texas.
The rain, the showers have been on and off.
Hot enough for you? Heat records will fall across the country again today, and all of this is happening on the first day of summer.
The sun is its highest angle in the sky, the longest daylight hour of the year.
We have important warnings about how the heat impacts your car and your pets.
And if it feels hot to you, it's going to be too hot for their paws.
Deadly wildfires. Firefighters finally get some relief as they battle flames in New Mexico.
We could see this expand to one of the most devastating fires that we've seen in southern New Mexico.
And we'll show you the dust storm that blew through a portion of the Southwest.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. We are once again following three major weather stories across the country. First, Tropical Storm Alberto, the first named storm of the year, just made landfall in Mexico. Across the Midwest and East, more than 86 million Americans are under heat advisories and records will be falling. And in New Mexico, wildfires are still burning out of control, destroying hundreds of homes. And we start with Alberto, which made landfall in northeastern Mexico this morning. Sustained winds are at 45 miles per hour. All watches and warnings were dropped earlier today for the Texas coast. But in Mexico, 3 deaths are now blamed on the storm. Alberto is expected to continue west over Mexico throughout the day. Long before landfall, Alberto's tropical storm force winds and heavy rain made an impact on South Padre Island. Water quickly surged onto roads, and since the winds caused some minor damage, up to 10 inches of rain is expected in South Texas. And here's what it looked like in Matagorda, Texas. That's south of Houston on the Gulf Coast. And you can see here there's so much water on the road, the pelicans came ashore for easy fishing. The water is also under the houses there, which are on stilts just for days like this. Corpus Christi also flooded. Roads and parking lots disappeared under the 4 feet of storm surge. The good news is that high tide for this morning has already passed, so conditions will be improving throughout the day. Officials in the city said they were ready for Alberto's impact.
Corpus Christi is an evacuation city, so we have to be prepared to evacuate those in our community that don't have a means to evacuate themselves.
We should also note there are 2 other disturbances the National Hurricane Center is monitoring. Neither is expected to become a named storm over the next few days. Alberto also produced this waterspout, which was visible off the coast at Jamaica Beach. The combination of tropical air and wind shear helped spawn the waterspout. It appears to have died out before reaching shore. If it had made landfall, the National Weather Service would have issued a tornado warning for the area. And now to the dangerous heat dome that settled over the Midwest and the Northeast. Many records fell yesterday and several more will be set today. This morning, there are excessive heat warnings from Ohio to northern New England. The heat index in Bangor, Maine could reach 107 degrees today. Even the temperatures in Maine are higher than South Florida. The worst of the heat won't arrive in the Mid-Atlantic until this weekend, when the mercury could approach triple digits in Washington, D.C. And when it comes to extreme heat, it's not just the number on the thermometer that matters. There's something called the heat index, sometimes referred to as the feels-like temperature. Meteorologist Violet Schreiber explains what it is and why it's so important.
So first, let's explain why we have a thing called the heat index. First of all, we know our bodies sweat. Normally, they like to stay near 98.6 degrees. So when our body temperature rises, we begin to sweat, and that's released from our skin as a way to cool ourselves down. The water from the sweat evaporates, and that draws heat out of the body through a process called evaporative cooling. However, when it's muggy, this doesn't happen as easily. Our sweat fails to evaporate from our skin, keeping the warmth in our body and leaving you feel sticky. So that's why we have heat index values, or real field temperatures, when things become muggy. This is the National Weather Service's chart that they use to determine the heat index based on the temperature versus the relative humidity. So an example, over the past couple of days, we've been in the low 90s. The relative humidity about 60%. That means the real field temperature is in the lower 100s. Now, what does this mean, each of these categories, stretching from caution to extreme danger? Well, heat stroke is likely when we have heat indices of 126 or greater. We start to see it, people with muscle cramps and heat exhaustion likely in that danger zone, 104 to 125. And it's less likely when you drop below 103 degrees. And the deaths from heat-related illnesses has been skyrocketing in previous years. Just this past year, we had 2,300 deaths and about 1,500 in the last 5 years. So we want to prevent this from happening. Make sure to stay hydrated and find shade during the hottest parts of the day.
When temperatures spike to dangerous levels, it's not just heat exhaustion or heat stroke you have to keep in mind. Liz Bonus shares other heat dangers that can impact your health.
For example, we're all prone to sunburn in the heat, but Dr. Andrew Straw, an associate professor of pharmacy practice at Ohio's Cedarville University, told me people on certain medications can burn more quickly than those not on the drugs.
Some of these would be antibiotics as a big one. And this is true. There are some antibiotics that can make sunburn worse. And so it's really important to be aware of that. So you can take preventative measures until that antibiotic is completed, even a few days after it's completed, to make sure it doesn't cause a severe sunburn.
In addition to sunburn, certain health conditions are aggravated by heat.
The heat can aggravate, especially some of our patients that I see with some breathing disorders like asthma or COPD. It can be in the humidity, especially.
Tick bites are also a problem in the heat. We're outdoors, but we don't want to wear long sleeves and pants for protection against these critters. Symptoms mimic heat-related problems, so you might not even know you have a bite until you get headaches, nausea, muscle and joint pain, as well as a distinct rash.
What should you do if you're worried about some of these symptoms?
It's great to be able to, especially now with electronic health records, sometimes you can send your doctor a picture of what that bite looks like, and that can be really helpful to them to actually see what's going on and recommend something right away.
Finally, he says dehydration impacts all of us, but certain people take blood pressure medications that actually push water out of the body, adding danger.
Wildfires in New Mexico claimed the life of a second person on Wednesday, and now more than 14,000 structures have been destroyed. Heavy rain and hail fell late in the day Wednesday, giving relief to firefighters. However, the threat of high winds and flash floods impacted routes that first responders and those delivering aid were using. Eileen Herrera has more.
Fire Station 1 on Ruidoso on Meacham, the firefighters are staying at and stuff like that to make sure they stay taken care of with water, hygiene products, sunscreen, chapstick, you name it, all that kind of stuff like that.
People in areas surrounding Ruidoso are trying to deliver donations to firefighters and first responders who are battling the two active wildfires. But with new road closures in place, some routes that were open weren't usable anymore.
We sent 4 more trailers out that up through this area, so I'm hoping they got out. They haven't come back yet, and I haven't seen them going this way.
State officials say they are looking to help more people over the next few days.
The governor's office is here, and over the next few days, we could see this expand to one of the most devastating fires that we've seen in southern New Mexico.
Donations to fire crews are now partially being directed to Inn of the Mountain Gods. The director of marketing at the resort says some fire crews are staying here as they fight the wildfires.
Firefighters that are here helping fight the blaze to get something to eat, get some rest, get their information and updates at all. We've got forestry, tribal, U.S. Forest, the local officials as well.
Volunteers who made their way to the hotel are helping get food and supplies to first responders and other people who are seeking shelter here. They're also collecting donations from people who are traveling to Ruidoso to drop off supplies.
As part of the evacuation center, that team that was brought in, they're receiving the donations. Community involvement from all over the state has been amazing.
Fire wasn't the only problem in New Mexico. There was also this dust storm known as a haboob. It was so big, it was captured on satellite imagery last night. The National Weather Service warned visibility along Interstate 10 could suddenly drop to less than a quarter of a mile. So far, there are no reports of serious crashes. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how the extreme heat can impact farmers and their livestock.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. It's another hot one in the Northeast, and it's humid today with temps surging back into the 90s. We'll start with a lot of hazy sunshine in the Northeast today. That's about lunchtime. Temps in the 90s should be expected for just about the entire region. Notice some of those showers and thunderstorms firing up during the afternoon. Some of those may become strong to severe into the evening hours. Now, a front will bisect the Northeast on Friday, and again on Saturday, we'll get a wide range in temperatures. 70s to the north, 80s and 90s south.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. We are nice and dry for the next couple of days. In fact, we may not see any rainfall until we get closer to the end of the weekend. Between now and then, temperatures are going to rise up a lot along with the humidity. High of around 92 for your afternoon on Thursday. And as we head into Friday, temperatures still likely going to hit the mid-90s with the humidity on the rise too. The heat index will likely feel like it is in the upper 90s, close to 100.
I'm meteorologist Vetus Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. Nashville, 93 degrees, a hot one in Tupelo at 93. Birmingham, 92 degrees. Atlanta, 90, 93 in Tampa. West Palm at 86 degrees. We do have plenty of sunshine over the southeast. It looks like we're still watching a few coastal showers moving in over parts of Florida, maybe southern Alabama. But this circulation here, kind of watching to see how that plays out over parts of southern Georgia and the Carolinas, bringing them a little rain.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, along the edge of the heat dome, there is a threat of severe weather later today. There's a small area in Nebraska, but the bigger concern is New York and New England. Cities like Boston, Syracuse, and Portland could all see severe thunderstorms packing powerful and damaging wind gusts later on during the day today. Well, there are many dangers when it comes to extreme temperatures. Ryan Stockett is in Oklahoma and explains that temperatures don't need to be extreme to pose a real risk to young children left inside a car.
Kids and car safety, Oklahoma is one of the worst states in the country for hot car deaths, ranking number 11 in the nation.
We've documented at least 30 children that have died from hot cars in the state of Oklahoma.
Amber Rollins with Kids and Car Safety says most hot car deaths happen when the parent or caregiver loses awareness that the child is in the back seat with them.
About 55% of hot car deaths happen when a child is unknowingly left. A lot of times it's a sleeping baby.
I reached out to EMSA to learn what people can do to make sure they don't make such a mistake.
Anytime you get out of your car, even if, it's not something you would normally do, just make a habit of turning around, looking behind you, making sure that you're getting everybody out of the car with you.
To help you develop that habit of opening the back door and looking before you lock every time, Rollins says to put an item that you cannot start your day without in the back seat.
If you work on a laptop, that'd be a great thing to put back there.
Or the key card to get into your work building.
Another thing parents can do, another layer of protection, grab a reminder item, put that in the back seat.
Rollins says that whenever you buckle your child into the car seat, to move that reminder item to the front seat as a visual cue. Gage Holloman with EMSA says that no amount of time in a car is safe for kids or pets to be left there, especially when air conditioning is not on.
Running into a liquor store and you can't take your kid with you in. So people think that, I'll be right back. It's not a big deal.
He says to instead make plans.
Find somebody that can watch them while you go run those errands.
The heat can also have major impacts on your pet. Let's take a look at this recent Instagram post from meteorologist Tara Blake about heat and pet safety.
7 seconds. You hold your hand on the pavement or cement for 7 seconds, and if it feels hot to you, it's going to be too hot for their paws. The best thing to do is to have them walk in the grass. Sometimes they fight it a little bit. You can see me trying to direct mine over into the grass, but they still want to go back. The problem is, all of a sudden, the cement gets way too hot, way too fast. Look at some of these numbers. If we've got a 95-degree day, the concrete is at 125, asphalt 140, so never walk them in the road. But their paws can burn in just 5 minutes. So do your best to keep them safe and to keep yourself safe too. And if you're wondering how to know if there's any sort of damage, they will typically show you if they're starting to limp, if they are whimpering, and maybe not even moving at all. You want to get them inside immediately. The air conditioning is going to help to cool down their body temperature, but also run their paws under cool, gentle water that's going to help to relieve the pain. I'm meteorologist Tara Blake.
We've talked about heat and pets, we've talked about heat and humans, but we've also got a concern about farmers. Meteorologist Garrett Haid has a look at what farmers are doing to keep their bovine friends safe when it's hot.
And Steve Swenka says he commonly sees his cows out grazing during the cooler hours of the day, but by late morning as temperatures start to rise, they will quickly try to find cooler spots in the shade. And having adequate shade is really important for cattle. They tend to have a hard time dissipating heat since they don't sweat and rely heavily on breathing to cool down. And that means farmers have to be extra cautious to monitor their herds.
You just have to be a little more diligent, keep a little better eye on things, practice good animal husbandry, just keep track because you know the potential for distress is there. You want to make sure that the cattle have plenty of water, shade, insect control, and just some of the basic things that might get overlooked when the temperatures are a little cooler.
Unfortunately, this year, the excess rainfall has allowed for some big-time improvements in our drought conditions, leading to healthier pastures and more water in the streams, making a big difference when it comes to caring for herds of cattle. And while things might have improved a little bit as far as drought conditions are concerned, the heat is certainly something that many farmers across the Midwest are always hypervigilant about.
Now, later today will mark the official start of summer. And as meteorologist Jeff Exline explained recently on Instagram, it's happening very early this year.
Thursday, June 20th marks the start of summer in the Northern Hemisphere, with the summer solstice occurring at 4:50 in the afternoon Eastern Daylight Time. Fun fact for you, this is the earliest start to summer since George Washington was in the White House. You have to go all the way back to 1796. Well, the start of summer coincides with the sun's direct rays reaching their northernmost point in the Northern Hemisphere along the Tropic of Cancer. That's why we have the longest amount of daylight on the first day of summer. The sun takes its longest and highest path in the sky, so that means if you look at your shadow on the first day of summer, it'll be the shortest shadow of the year. Just the opposite, you'll have the longest shadow on the first day of winter. But the fun doesn't stop there. We have a full strawberry moon. Won't look like a strawberry, but it will be one of the lower moons of the year. That means it's going to look really large on the horizon. Technically full Friday, but you'll be able to see it Thursday through Saturday. Look at the southeastern part of the sky right after sunset to see that large moon rising.
We have more weather content from our team of meteorologists on our social media accounts. You can find us on all your favorite platforms, including TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X. Just search the National Weather Desk. California, where grape growers are asking community members for help in keeping the state's vineyards safe by learning about an invasive species yet to be spotted in California. It's called the spotted lanternfly. Leanne Denver has more.
Aaron Lang's family began farming in what's now San Joaquin County back in the late 1880s.
What we're looking at here is Zinfandel.
These grapes will become wine for Lang Twins Winery and Vineyards in Acampo. Lang believes California's vineyards are a part of the state's character and must be kept safe.
I'm looking for speckled light into the canopy so I can see light through there. That allows the sunlight to get on each one of those clusters during the day.
He worries, though, in the months and years to come, a pest only known so far to be on the East Coast could infiltrate California vineyards like his if the public and ag community are not careful.
If I was looking for a lanternfly, I would certainly be looking inside my canopy here and looking for one of these life stages.
The troublesome spotted lanternfly has been identified in northeastern states. According to the state's Department of Food and Agriculture, live spotted lanternflies have not been found in California to date. The lanternfly feeds on trees and is known to love grapes. They can cause considerable damage to vineyards. Concern about the pests has grown since officials found egg masses at an agricultural inspection station in Truckee in March. Lang, as well as members of the California Association of Wine Grape Growers, want to make sure people know what the pests look like, the problems they could cause, and what to do if you think you've spotted one. And while live lanternflies have yet to be spotted in the state, Lang believes everyone must be proactive to keep them from coming.
Time now for a short break, but first let's take flight over Emerald Isle, North Carolina.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Temperatures generally into the upper 70s to mid 70s. A little cooler as you get up into the north, but boy, it is warm and humid and cloudy down along the coast. What's left of Tropical Storm Alberto moving into Mexico. Still a little bit of a trough line there. Look for more scattered tropical showers across the Lone Star State today as temperatures stay cool there, but warm elsewhere. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and happy first day of summer. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. We're kicking off the season, at least in the Pacific Northwest, with some sunshiny perfection for Seattle and Spokane. Both cities in the low 80s. We often joke that summer doesn't begin until the 5th of July in Seattle, but it actually showed up on time this year. It's already been in place for weeks around Phoenix, back into the triple digits there today. High pressure ruling things over the western U.S. And that's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
As the heat wave grips most of the country, many are on guard against heat illness. Meteorologist Peter Hall says staying hydrated is only part of the equation.
Here's what you need to be aware of, okay? What is heat exhaustion and heat stroke? You can see the words on the screen if you're listening to my voice but not watching the TV. Come on over. Here's what you need to realize, okay? Heat exhaustion, you got to get to a cool air-conditioned place, drink water, and take a cool shower if you're feeling any of those things on the left. On the right, if you've got any of those things, now you may be running into heat stroke, and that is an extremely serious situation. And part of the reason why we're spending so much time talking about the heat, believe it or not, heat-related deaths top the list of fatalities. I mean, it's just incredible. You might think, oh, it's got to be flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, any of these other things. Nope. It's heat. It can be very dangerous.
We invite you to watch our special Superstorms, which takes a close look at the 2024 hurricane season. Either scan the code on your screen or head over to our YouTube page. We look at why this season could be so active and examine the role new technologies are playing in hurricane forecasting. so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great Thursday, and we'll see you